Okay, so in this video, we are going to talk about lessons 4, 5, and 6 of this unit, um, starting with variables. So watch this, please, and we will write more code in class tomorrow. So you've seen how to write print statements. Now we're going to see what variables are. Variables are essentially containers to hold numbers, different types of numbers, text, things like that. So for example, age is a variable. Age can hold a number. In this case, age would be a number. So you say age equals 29. Okay, you can have different types of variables. You can do calculations. Okay, so what this is saying is you want to say you're going to add 3 to x and put it back in x. That's what this is saying. Okay, so it's a little different from algebra. So age equals 3, for example. Age is 3. Name equals Stephanie. So see the difference between a number and the text. The number is just a number, whereas the text has a single quote or double quote around it. In this case, we just have a single quote. Stephanie. Single quote says it's a string. It's not a number. Here we say count equals age. Whatever is in age, which is 3, will get put into count. So count becomes 3. So age is a number, Stephanie name is Stephanie is a string, and count is a number. Okay, so the different ways you can put things into variables. Now here on the slide, we talk about 30 getting put into age. So age equals 30. Name equals Sally. See here you have double quote. That's a string. Age equals dog. This has no meaning because what is dog? Dog hasn't been defined yet. So before you use, you must know what it is. Okay. So here I'm going to open Replit, and as I'm going through this, I'm going to show you how to do a few things. So let's go into our Replit. You all know how to do this by now. I'm going to go actually into my folders first, and I'm going to go into my, what do we call it, intro unit 3, and I'm going to write a new REPL. It's Python, and we'll call it variables. Okay, variables and calculations. We'll start with variables and we'll go on calculations. And when it comes up, we will do what we did before. It's always good to have your comments. So what you're going to do, I can do this. I'm going to go into my other REPL from yesterday. We go into the print statements, and I'm going to copy that header section, and I'm going to put it in the other REPL. So this is something that you must do. So go back to the other variables and calculations and put it on the top. Okay, and then you change that. So put it here, and this is going to say variables and calculations, because that's what I'm going to do today. Okay, all right. This demonstrates variables. You can copy this and put it in here. Okay, input, we'll see. Maybe we get some input from the user, and we output something to the user. We'll get there eventually. Okay, so let's start out by creating some variables. Okay, we always create our main when we start writing our program. So def main age equals 0, name equals something. You can put in your name, so you should try out this code. Okay, so name equals something, age equals something. Then you can print some statements with that. So let's say age equals 28 or something like that. Okay, then you say print. You can print. How do you use these variables? You say hello, and you put a comma, and if you say name, it's going to print name. Notice hello is inside double quote, name is not inside double quote. And exclamation, that says I want you to print the exclamation. Then you type in some more text. You are, okay, I want to say something like, you are age See how I'm separating everything by commas. Years old. Okay. So hello inside double quote. Name is a variable, so it's not inside double quote. It's going to output Mrs. Iyer there, or your name. This again is inside double quote. It's going to print it exactly the way it is. Age, you are 28 years old. And you could say something like, you are eligible to vote. Something. Okay. All right. So there. Now, let's see what else we can do here. So these are the variables, and it tells you how to essentially print out these variables in a print statement. And then we go back and we call main. So make sure the indentations all match. The M should be right under the D. That's very important. So now we've created two variables and we put some things in there and we've used them in a print statement. So now if you run it, it is simply going to say hello. And in the place of name, I have whatever I put in here. Mrs. Iyer, you are 28 years old. And if you don't want unwanted space, then remove unwanted space because otherwise it adds space to it. And the slide says you can use a SEP. The SEP says don't put spaces where I don't want spaces. So try these things. The best way to learn to code is to try things. So SEP equals will make sure that it takes away all the spaces, which means now I have to make sure I put a space. So see how it doesn't have any space? So which means I need to make sure that I put the space around all of this. That was not good. Closed. Okay, let's see if we can go back into it. All right, while we're waiting on that, let's see what's on the next slide. Okay, now we talk about data types. Data types are essentially integers, which mean whole numbers, decimal numbers, strings. Those are the data types that we are going to be talking about. So here, I was trying to fix this. Here's a space. Where else do I need a space? Let's try that. I think that should be good. So there, now we have all the right spacing in the right spots. Okay, so the SEP says take away all these unwanted spaces and put space only where I want it. So this is an empty, there's nothing inside the single quote, it's empty. Okay, all right. So then we talk about the different data types. What are the data types? Data types are essentially three different types that we are going to be using in this class: whole numbers, decimal numbers, and strings. Anything that's inside a quote, a single quote, or a double quote is a string. Anything that's just a number is a number. Okay. All right. So go through some of these, some variable names that you cannot use. How can we name variables? Variables can be named following these rules. They cannot contain spaces. First character must be a letter or an underscore. After that, you can use numbers. That's it. You cannot use any other characters. So, and also they're case sensitive. Numcars is not the same as numcars. Notice this is capital C and this does not. So they are two different things. Okay. So you must follow those rules to name variables. Here is some more information on how you can name variables. So read through this: snake case, camel case. Make sure you look at it. This is not good because it starts with a 1. This is not good because it has a character like that. This is good. ABC 1, 2, 3. This is good, but it's not a good one because it has an uppercase F. This is good. It has snake case with an underscore. This is good, right? So look at some of these things. Some of them are good. Some of them are not good. Keep going is good. Okay, now it's not good if it has an exclamation. So when you declare variables, make sure you take care to name them and initialize them. So here are 3 variables: num students equals 0, name equals nothing, and cost equals 0.0. So anytime you use variables, you are going to declare them and initialize them. So here are some examples of input, okay? How to read input from the user. And I'm going to show you how to do that in this code here. So here are 2 variables that we just used. Okay, now let's rewrite this code and say, well, I don't want to just do that. I'm going to do something else. Maybe I want to read 2 numbers from the user. So num1 equals 0. Num2 equals 0. This is called declaring and initializing the variables. So I add a comment that says declare and initialize the variables. Okay. Also, let's have another variable called name equals double quotes says eventually it's going to be a string. I'm going to put a string in there. Okay. Now let's get some input from the user. That's what this slide is talking about. How do you get an input from the user? Okay. So an input from the user is you can read by using the input statement. So if I say name equals input, enter your name, it's going to wait for the user to enter their name. Now num1 equals input. I'm going to say enter a number. That will wait for the user to enter a number. Num2 equals, we're going to say input. Notice it's not print, it's input, enter another number. That will wait for the user to enter another number. Okay. Now I'm just going to print all of them. I'm going to say hello, just like we did before. Hello. And I'm going to say name. That will output the name that the user enters. On the next line, I'm going to say print you entered, and I'm going to print num1, and I'm going to say the word and because I want to say you entered num1 and num2. So it looked like that. Okay, and then I'm calling main. So let's run this and see what we get. Just enter your name. I'm going to put in my name, and then it says enter a number. I'm going to enter 3 and 4. It says you entered 3 and 4. Okay. Now again, the sep. Let's put the sep so I don't get those unwanted spaces, right? So if you just put the sep to be nothing inside of double quote, then I get rid of all those unwanted spaces. Okay, so 2 numbers. Oh, now I need a space here. So every time you make a change, test it. See what you get. See if it does what you want it to do. Okay, that looks better. Now what do I do if I want to add the 2 numbers and put it in something? Let's call down, we want to do calculations. So let's call a variable total equals 0. Let's say I set up a variable. Then I'm going to come here and I'm going to say I want to do total equals num1 plus num2. I want to add the 2 together. Then I want to say you entered these 2 numbers and total equals, and I want to print total. Okay, so I want to print total. So what I did was I created a variable called total. I said num1 plus num2. I put it into total. Then I printed total. Let's see what we get. So it says enter your name. I'm going to type in my name, enter 2 numbers, and I get those 2. And it says you entered 3 and 5, and total is 35. Total is not 35. It should be 3 plus 5 is 8, right? Okay, so what it's doing here is it's treating num1 and num2 as strings, and it's essentially putting them together. 3 and 5 put together is 35. So that's really not what I wanted to do. I wanted to be able to say 3 plus 5 equals 8. So in the next video, I will show you how to take these and convert them into numbers. Right now, they're all just strings. Okay, so we will see how to take these and convert it into an int or a float like it shows on slide 60. So that will be in our next video. This shows you how to read input. So practice some more with that.